Sometimes if it's chicken though, it lasts. Oh, here he is.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yep, there he is.
He'll go do something else after, I betcha. Are the 78s still going on Stony?
Yeah, they are.
I would be in the heaven for that part.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to go on Stony.
Or to Stony Garage.
Yeah.
When I think of Stony, I think of the garage.
Oh yeah.
You have any Stony work at all? No.
No. Finally. For the first time in like 2 years.
You know what? Doing the 82 in the summer is nice though. I will have to say.
Just the whole having to leave like 2 hours beforehand.
So, do you hear by 2026 they want to have some electric buses on our roads to replace buses like this, or the aging ones, right?
Yeah, bring it on.
I wanted to ask you, do we have like we ordered clean diesel buses, like low grade polluters or whatever they're called? Low sulfur diesel or something?
Yeah, we use that, yeah.
So it pollutes less.
Yeah, exactly.
Although them Jimmies were high sulfur.
Yes. But yeah, that's supposed to be the idea.
But then again, as a bus gets older, it's gonna pollute, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The next bus charter I go on, my dad's just gonna leave me and drop me off though.
Oh yeah?
He went on the first one because I didn't know what to expect. It was my first one, right?
Yeah. Now he's just gonna drop you and go.
So 12 for 2 weeks, eh?
Yeah.
You're gonna be busy during that rush hour.
Yeah. The first couple trips.
Oh, you start at rush hour.
Yeah.
But last time you did it, you relieved the driver at 56 at Somerset.
That's right, yeah.
They still do Shaughnessy relievements there too, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah.
I hear you're back to the garage next week though.
Yes, back to the garage. Yeah.
But I mean, it's not bad. You should be getting in about 12:15. Vic Park, you wouldn't be in till after 12:30.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I gotta check and see what time I get back. Maybe even like 11:30.
Because the first 12 goes out of service at 11:28.
Yeah, so that's probably me.
And then the last one goes out of service at 50. 2 minutes before midnight. Do you get loaded next trip?
No, well, no, not like not from the high school. I get more people at Somerset than anywhere else.
But I mean, the other guy, he gets crush loaded.
Yeah, those guys, but I mean, they've got 3 of them out there for a little while, so it's not.
Oh, what? Do they have an extra 11 now?
Oh, I mean like the guy on the 12.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm talking about the 11. The other key gets loaded.
Right, yeah, he must.
The 11 is so busy now since Anderson opened.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's like the 12 all over again.
Yeah, okay. But you know what key this is, right?
142.
No, this is 141.
Oh!
This is the good one.
Normally it's 142.
Yeah, this is 141, and I was like, wow, I'm not really getting super busy. And then I looked at the key, and I was like, oh, okay.
You'll take it.
Maybe that's why. Like, remember I told you that one driver? He was like, always take key 141. And I was like, okay.
Because you're used to taking key 142.
Yeah, but I guess it actually.
So guess what? The old U2s are still going.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, we still don't have any more trains in yet that were built, right? So they have no choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and guess what? A couple weeks ago, there was a U2 out. A guy sent me a photo, one of my YouTube friends. He got on a U2 at 12:18 at night.
Oh, wow.
And that was scheduled to go back to the garage after rush hour, but you know what happened? An S200 on an all-day run broke down, so the driver got messaged over control, can you keep your U2 out? And S200 broke down. And that consist was scheduled to go back to the garage after rush hour. But sometimes it happens where they keep the U2s out for the reason S200 breaks, then they keep the U2 out. The new trains are still terrible. They're still breaking down and having issues. And the U2s are still outperforming them in some ways. Yeah, so that came out at 3 something, that consist, and stayed out for the rest of the night. But I mean, they want to maintain the schedule, right? If a train breaks down, then they say, I know you were supposed to come back to Oliver Bowen, but we need you to stay out because a train broke.
Approaching Sunburst Drive and Sun Valley Boulevard.
I wouldn't want to drive a U2 when it's 34, though. But if that's the train they give you, you have no choice, especially if it's Stampede service. You gotta take the train they give you. I remember stopping here in the summer for Slurpee. That's so perfect though. If you have a minute or two, you can run in and get something sweet though. It all works out. Or if your bus breaks down, you won't be complaining. You can get a bag of chips and... Although you won't have to wait so long because it's out of Anderson.
Yeah, no kidding. Like 15 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, pretty quick.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
VP, you'll be lucky if you get 1 hour and a half.
Yeah, well, especially if it's rush hour, they have to.
I hear they're doing more construction down there too, so if you go back to the guys after rush hour, you say it's melee.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There's like all these pylons that you have to follow to get back to the garage.
And there's like 15 buses ahead of you just waiting to go in.
Yeah. But in a way, it's not terrible because now you can't really access the Saddle Dome like the way we go. Whereas before that was a main way to get to the Saddle Dome.
That's what my dad did.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know what? Oh, well, in the Flames games, it can still be bad though because
Yeah.
you're.
Oh yeah. Because now all that traffic has to come in the other way.
And I imagine buses do too.
Yeah.
How is it when you finally get in though? And the garage is so small, I only seen the other half of it. The outside lot to park buses is so small. How do you get them all in there?
I don't know. They just put them in there. There's like 30 lanes. So.
They should extend Well, I mean, they're gonna be getting rid of Vic Park eventually,
Yeah,
so.
someday. That's what they keep saying. I've been hearing that for 20 years now. So,
Yeah.
you know.
It'll be sad for VP drivers because some of them like working out of there.
Yeah.
But then again, they can go to Anderson.
Yeah, but a lot of people hate Anderson. Like, the thing about Anderson is there's like these, like the dispatch office is upstairs.
Yeah.
So you have to climb like these two really big sets of stairs.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like don't like that.
And you know what? It's like at Spring to get your bus at Spring Gardens, you have to go down this tunnel.
Yeah.
And like 5 sets of big stairs.
Yeah, it's not as bad as Anderson. Like, they did not build that garage with like accessibility.
For the C trains, it's fine. Remember the Eau Claire garage? Well, before your time, we used to have an Eau Claire garage.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, that property just became like such prime real estate. And that's gonna happen probably to Victoria Park at some point.
Yeah.
You
Did you drive the Orions, or were they all gone when you
know?
came?
Yeah, they were gone.
They had two-tone blue like the Jimmies.
Oh yeah.
You remember driving the Shit Bucket Internationals though.
Yeah.
So what happened? The brakes would just, the brakes were terrible.
Yeah, the brakes were really bad. Your cousins.
I heard you had shuttle buses that were like 1994.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Were those them or were they even older?
Maybe those were them. We had ones that they wanted us to put gas in ourselves, which was really dumb.
Really?
Yeah, we had a couple of those. And if you had that bus where you had to like keep an eye on the fuel and then go over to the yard on Stiller Road and fuel it up. And then
Have you seen the ETS bus mechanic, Daniel? Because I know you and him are great friends.
oh yeah. Yeah, no, I haven't seen him like for a while actually.
Well, he's probably working on buses in Edmonton, right? Because he's a mechanic.
Yeah.
And that's a big job.
Yeah, he might be back in the summer.
I hope, I'll give one thing to the electric shuttles when we get them. I hope they're frickin' better than our books. You know the ones we have now?
Yeah,
They're so bouncy.
they really are. Like there's no comfort to that ride.
You've taken them after work, I imagine.
Before work, yeah, and it's just like, oh, what are we doing?
And the seats are they have the red plastic seats in them now, as if they weren't already uncomfortable enough.
Yeah.
Is there something you'll miss about the diesel buses when they eventually go away?
I mean, I guess having that engine sound, right? But you'll still hear the wheels on the road.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna be thinking, when you have an electric, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's Stacy, but you snuck up.
Right?
I wonder how an electric would sound at high speed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like an airplane, most likely.
It'll be interesting.
It's so weird not going through that neighborhood. I mean,
Yeah, I like it. It's fine.
I personally like it better though. It's a smoother ride, right? So it seems like you get all your time at Shaughnessy, even though it's not much more.
Well, after this trip, I'll get my time back at Fish Creek, I think. You know, it's just a couple hours where I'm really busy.
Kind of like the 12, right?
Yeah, well, the 12 is more like 4 hours, right?
I remember when George, before COVID, he would get standing loads 3 times pulling into Fish Creek.
Yeah.
And I mean like 60 people to the windshield. You probably remember doing his work when it was that.
Yeah,
You got loaded like really hard.
yeah.
And they don't put an Arctic on it because the load gets off quickly, right? So it's not really worth it. Speaking of a driver, did you ever hear back about the driver's status that really hurt himself after the tragic accident on the 23?
Oh, yeah, no, I haven't really heard anything about that guy.
He'll never be back, I don't think, right? That's my...
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Or that train driver that retired last summer. I wonder what he's up to now. Remember when you started work, there was a big conference at Bridlewood there? They were all waiting
That's right.
for him.
Yeah.
There's a nice driver that takes drives us on the train. He gives us the weather report and stuff.
Yeah. That's badge number 1. That's Sid.
What is it?
That guy is Sid Banks.
Sid.
Sid, yeah.
Yeah, he gives us the weather. He's like, it'll be a bit on the windy side and it's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
He does that when we go out of downtown. He comes over the PA. And I think it's really cool because no C-train driver does that very often. He seems like he's been driving trains for years.
Oh, yeah, he's like 40 plus years.
So he's driven all the U2 cars, every one of them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the 15's ahead of us, but I gotta remember it's the 102 now.
Right, yeah.
I think it's good that they did a 102 in Millrise and one to Silverado, because that 402 alone had way too much time.
Yeah.
You're sitting there for like 15 minutes. Like, I remember that lady when she did it. Like, the first sign up that Anderson opened, she had like 12 minutes.
Yeah. I would still go.
But then, what are you gonna do? Hold it in for 8 hours? I don't think so. This key is actually pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Like, it's steady, but it's not like the other one. I was on the other one when Anderson, the first sign up that you guys had it open.
Yeah.
And man, it seemed like it never ended with that guy who was on it. He was just loaded. Well, I mean, the high school gets out right when he arrives.
Yeah.
And sometimes he would beat the 15 there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any school, like, every school I go by has come out or has already come out.
You just get maybe a straggler or two. One more trip, then I'm out of service for the day.
Okay.
So at that would be about 4:30. I'm getting off. I'm surprised how much time they give you to Somerset. I think they readjust your schedule with traffic. Is that right? Because when I checked you on Channel 55, they said you were due out at 14:30.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I think it's good that they give you 8 minutes from Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
And it didn't seem like they added any more time on the 78. Especially now with the construction, you need it. Is there a Burger King here? They have an old sign.
Yeah, there is.
Wow.
Well, one driver I was talking to about that 78, he said that they're gonna, because he called and said, you know, he's like, there's not enough time, yada yada, and the schedule said, well, we're gonna be totally redoing the 78 in about 3 years, so we're just gonna leave the schedule as is until then.
Oh.
It's like,
Oh.
okay,
Ouch.
cool.
Like rerouting the whole thing? Is that what they're saying?
That's the plan, yeah.
If it gets done.
Well, because over in Silverado area, there's quite a bit of new construction going on.
Oh, right.
So they're going to do something, maybe also change up the 102. Like, they're just sort of in a temporary thing right now.
Another day at Calgary Transit.
Yeah. But all week there have been police at Somerset. Like, probably 5 or 6 police, like, all afternoon. It's just like, okay. Alright.
Which there should be though, because this is getting.
I don't know. Should there? Like, they'll find one guy and then there's like 6 police officers dealing with one guy. It's like, alright. Like,
If he's really being, if it's really a problem though, I can understand it. But I mean, you know what? you should have them spread out on the system. Like, have them at Chinook.
We'll have them like everywhere, but like not all in one place.
Two to three, right? But speaking of police, they're adding 100 more between Edmonton and Calgary, specifically to deal with our problem on transit. And now Calgary Transit is planning on removing the benches at stations, like inside. I thought to myself, well, people aren't even on the bench if they're passed out. They're on the floor, so what does that solve? People would rather drive and pay a $16 parking fee to go to work rather than take transit, which is understandable. We only have a minute and a half or so, though, not a lot of time.
Approaching. Number set right over station.
No. What's for supper tonight?
Well, I still have to have fun, and that's Sunday. Since you know,
Oh, you didn't have lunch yet?
anytime now, anytime. We're at the halfway point, so yeah. And then for supper, I think it's gonna be ribs and rice. Veggies.
That's an interesting combination.
How about you?
I am not sure yet.
Yeah, we just find us packaged ribs, like the Swiss chalet ones from Superstore.
They have good pot pie, too.
Yeah, I like it, but my husband didn't like it. It's like very good.
Wow.
I know he's not a pot pie person.
I love pot pie.
To be fair, they're really salty, but they have a lot of sodium in them.
But I mean, for something that you buy, Swiss Chalet brand, it's pretty tasty. I end up drinking lots of water after, though. Sorry? No, we haven't even done that yet. Oh, at like 9 o'clock in the morning. But I'm taking a Red Deer vacation from April 23rd to May 5th. So if he puts it up, I won't be there for some of the showings. Just family stuff, you know. I like to get away for a while. Haven't been up there since January 1st. But not really. Ever since my grandpa passed, we don't really do anything for Easter. And my grandma's up in Red Deer, right? So. Seeing the crew up there.
Is there a stop poster ahead for it?
Which 7-Eleven are we talking about?
I think we want to
So like that
Yeah.
right there, yeah. Well, I would take not this one, but the next one, because then they're closer to the lights. Yeah. So yeah, not this stop, but the next one around.
Not this one, but it'll be the next one around the corner, okay?
Oh, that one?
No. Nowhere else.
As soon as we leave the school, it's like, well, are you a teacher or just a normal person? I don't know.
My mask.
Oh, that's
Over here. And then I think you caught the bus right in front of the 7-Eleven. There's a bus stop there. If you guys catch that one, it'll take you guys home.
Okay. I also want a friend.
Oh, I saw these set. Yeah. So you guys are gonna get off now over here. Okay?
Yep, so I can.
Yeah, it's already been cut over. You guys get off over here. Have fun at 7-Eleven. I see you guys on Tuesday.
You too. Nice day.
Thank you.
It's pretty small world when they just notice that that's their teacher. They're like, oh yeah, right?
I don't even know their teacher, their student teacher.
It really is a small world when you run into someone just anywhere.
yeah.
So Flames are tied for the last wildcard playoff spot now.
Yeah, but don't they need Winnipeg to lose?
Yeah, and they gotta win out. Because even though they have the same number of points, Winnipeg has more regulation wins.
Oh, really? Okay.
Winnipeg's got like, I think 41 wins.
Yeah.
And Calgary has 36, but they got the same number of points because Calgary has overtime
Okay.
points. But it all comes down to winning regulation losses.
So regulation games actually count more than overtime wins?
Overtime wins, you get the same amount of points, but if you lose in overtime, you only get a point. But if you win in regulation, it's just 2 points, no extra time.
Okay, yeah.
But it all comes down to that they have the same number of points, but Calgary has less wins in regulation. So that means Winnipeg owns the tiebreaker.
I got it. To me, they're really not a playoff team, though. You know?
The Flames,
Yeah, they haven't really.
I would have to agree with you 100%.
Yeah. But you never know, right? It just, you never really have that feeling that even if they're behind, they're gonna win.
Oh,
There's no, I don't have, sorry.
and when they get down, it's over, right? Basically.
Exactly.
They lose all hope,
Yeah, and they just do stupid things.
penalties.
Yeah, not just,
They won last night though, and boy, did they need it.
yeah,
Because they were against Winnipeg last night.
yeah. But what's this about a bunch of players don't want to come back if Sutter's still coaching? What's that all about?
he's been really hard on them. Like if you heard an interview, he crapped on one of his rookies. He's like, oh, he played 5 minutes 52 seconds, couple hits, couple shots, no goals, and he even asked what number is he, and he brought the sheet out. Like, how disheartening is that for a rookie player, for your coach to do that? He's like, welcome to the NHL, kid. That's not very motivating. That's rude and cruel.
I mean, that's old school, right? Like, just to be like that. Maybe today's players,
But I mean, you know what? That's not going to resonate with the team. They're not going to want to play for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Not 1980 anymore.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, didn't they get rid of him before because nobody liked him, and then they brought him back?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not, he is who he is, right? Like, his style it's not like it's a surprise, right?
But I mean, you can't be rattling their cage. They could be on a non-game winning streak and he's still bitching about something.
Yeah. So maybe a little bit too much tough love.
Yeah. Like, you know how John Tortorella, he's always mad.
Yeah.
Have you heard of his rants?
No, I haven't. Does he go on and on?
Yeah.
Steal yes?
He'll chew them out if they're not doing good constantly. It's funny how you have a couple minutes every time you come there. They need to get rid of these buildings here.
Yeah.
They've been empty for so long.
Which buildings?
George was telling me the buildings here. These buildings, there's a few empty lots, just empty rooms. George was telling me one day when I was on his bus. What was that?
That was the door not being happy.
Scared the heck out of me. A little fire bell there.
Evacuate!
I thought her engine was overheating or something.
They're on fire!
When you always hear a bell like that on your bus, you're like, uh-oh, right? What now? It was like, no, don't screw with me.
Yeah, don't touch me. Like that.
So are you back to the garage tonight?
No, I got taken over on the road.
Okay.
Yeah,
And the guy that relieves you must only have one trip on the 11 then.
yeah, it's basically like a trip and a half.
Yeah. But he must do something else during the day.
Oh yeah, he must. Yeah, I didn't really ask him.
Is he signed?
Yeah, he's same guy today, yeah.
You just park at Somerset then?
Yeah.
It's not even that far, like you're like 15 minutes, if that, away, right?
I think I made it home yesterday in like 8 minutes.
No, really? Wow. Well, there's no traffic.
Who's
Who's looking after the dogs when you're in Edmonton?
Oh, I was going she'll do the driving.